Okay, we're back. I want to finish off the video 3, the second half of it here. I left off on the first part of this. The reason why I wasn't seeing anything when I was trying to paint on the aircraft is down here in the paint pecker. I apparently was set up on the right side of the color, and I was trying to change color, and I had it switched over. So what was happening was the aircraft was white, the color selected to paint with was white, and so nothing was happening. I could see that something was happening because when I moved my circle across the paint, it was lagging. So that told me that it was painting. It was doing something, but I couldn't figure out what was going on. And a simple answer is I was selected on white so I couldn't see what was going on. Anyways, I guess it's kind of good. I'm not very good at editing, but I was gonna try to edit it out. But I just left it in the video. So if that happens to you, that's one place to look. And if something's happening, either you're not clicked on the right tool, or you're not clicked on the right file, or you got something going on down here, because usually not a problem. All right. Before I close this video session 3 out, both halves here, I want to show you something, and it's kind of important, and it can throw a lot of people off. One of those things where it just bewilders you what's going on, and you don't know, especially if you're new to Blender. I'm going to introduce you to this site right here, AirBiscuit. And AirBiscuit has a video right here called the Start to Finish MSFS Livery Tutorial. And it will give you some information on painting aircraft in Blender. And it's, similar to this. A little more fast-paced, a little more in-depth maybe. But he does an excellent job of covering an area which is difficult, can be difficult to learn and to manipulate, especially if you don't have things just right. And but anyways, this tutorial right here, start to finish, and the link for it is you can do a search on YouTube for AirBiscuit, or let me pull this up here. Let's get it full screen, see if it'll give me the link for it. Probably not, since I'm trying to show it on the video. See if I go back. Maybe I go back here.
Hi, this tutorial video will show you
hit pause.
How to make a livery for Microsoft Flight Simulator using Best Annie's.
Alright. So your link for this would be right up here at the top. YouTube.com. Watch 3 of it. I'm going to put an update out for my toolkit, and I'll have this link in that toolkit. If you can't get it off the screen right here, or by looking up AirBiscuit, or just doing a search for Start to Finish MSFS Livery Tutorial on YouTube. It's an excellent video, but it's about a year and a half old, something like that. The link that it refers to for the app for Blender no longer works, and there is some areas in here where it's not quite informative. I watched this thing probably 20 times before I got everything written down, all the information in it. Anyways, it will help you pay particular attention to the part where he does stenciling as a means of painting, because it will help you a lot. And I'm about to show you a little bit about that, but I'm going to show you some problems with it. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I'll bring Blender back up here, and I'm going to go, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into, let me check on something real quick, and see if you're still here. No, I got rid of you. So I'm going to go down here to this checkerboard down at the very bottom on this little menu right here, and you come up and it has texture 001, which means I already have a texture in here apparently. and then you can create a new one, or you can open one that already exists. And basically how you make a texture for this is you go into any of your 2D programs. You want a clean, clear background. In other words, there's no paint on it or nothing. And then you can do your stencil. What I'm going to do down here is go to my desktop. I already have 2 of them here. I'm on the left side of my fuselage, so I want my beekeeper left. And this was a decal that I used on my Stearman livery for the beekeeper. I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and you see it appears here. There's 2 of them. You're actually only going to use the one, but if you go, once this shows up, if you go up here to the wrench and screwdriver and click on it, as soon as you move your paintbrush into the open window, that decal should show up, or that stencil should show up. If it doesn't, you may have to come down here to where it says texture. There's a texture mask and a texture. Don't get mistaken with the texture mask, as it won't work. You'll get a black one. This will come up in the outline around it. It'll be all black, and that'll give you an indicator. Also, you see that it comes on both places, so you can actually paint on the still plate, or you can paint here, whatever you want to. I already have it up, and if you hover over the top of it and you press the left mouse button, you can position that around where you want it. If you hold down the control key and press the left mouse button, you can rotate it. Okay? If you hold down the shift key and press the left mouse button, you can size it. Okay? That'll give you an idea. So I'm going to set it right here, and once you get it in place where you want it, you have to be in white, pure white. So you got to make sure that this is pure white, 100, and all these are 00, or else what you'll get is whatever color you get selected in there. You won't get your stencil. So make sure that's on pure white. Make sure that you are on the paintbrush and not on one of these fill tools or something else. That's pure white. You're in texture, not texture map. Your stencil's visible in this window, and when you move over into this window, that appears. So what I'm going to do also is I want to make sure my brush, I'm going to use, see, if you do any sizing of the fuselage, things change. The stencil won't change, but your fuselage will. And I should have done this beforehand. I'm not going to be able to do this. There we go. Yep, I got to be right on it. I'm using my scroll wheel to scroll over so I can see these items, but I got to be right on that little bar right there. You want to make sure that your stroke is set to space, and that your fall off is this little staple looking thing right here, which means that you got hard edges. Alright? Unless, of course, you want the edges of your decal to fade off into whatever colors, or you want to give it a worn look or something like that, then you can experiment with these others. But for now, I want to be, I want clean edges, and I want my stroke to be on space. And I'm going to go back in here, and I'm just going to push down the left mouse button, and I want to paint. Now, as you can see, whatever colors came in with your stencil, that's the colors that's going to be stenciled onto the aircraft. And I like to let the mouse button off and then come back and go over it again, pressing down the left mouse button, just to make sure I get everything, get good colors all the way around. Now my stencil's there. I can move the aircraft around. It's going to be permanently attached to my aircraft. The stencil's on there. Now you see also, if I change the size of the aircraft, you better be where you want it, because it's really hard to get it back. If I hit the 3 key, and then I can, hit the 3 key and hover over my stencil, and I can try to adjust it, but I may have it doesn't always work. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and close out that stencil. I don't need it right now. I'm going to go back into normal mode here. And that other video really shows it good. And hopefully this will give you a good idea of how that works. And again, you can make any decal you want in any 2D program. Save it as a PNG, making sure that you have a... let me go ahead and open this up in... I'm going to open it up in Photoshop. Open with Photoshop. This will take just a second to pop up Photoshop. And we'll see what it looks like in Photoshop so that you know. There it is. It's, well, this is the other side. But anyways, it has a neutral background. You could call it an alpha channel. What I do is, if my aircraft is at 4096 by 4096, I just take and make a blank blank file that's at 4096 by 4096, and then I will construct or import my graphic into that. Sometimes what you can do is open up the aircraft, grab one of the files in there, pull it out, copy something to another level, and get rid of everything that's on it, and you'll have the perfectly blank screen to put your decal on. And then save it out as a PNG file. That's about the easiest way to do it, to get your decals. Anyways, let's go back up here. Now, I've already done this on the tail, and I want to show you some problems that you can run into. So I'm going to pull my tail over here, and if you see, that's a mess. I'm going to switch around to this other side, and that's not too bad. The size is a little off, and it's a little, it can be difficult when you're doing two parts. In other words, the fuselage and the rudder are two separate pieces. What you have to do is, remember I showed you how to take and hit the 3 key or the 9 key or whatever, make sure that you got a flat surface. You don't want to change anything. Once you get that, the only thing you want to adjust is your decal. And so what I would do is I'd go into my layout up here. I would select make sure my fuselage is selected. I would then go back to my texture paint. I'd go ahead and paint my fuselage side. And then without touching anything at all, I would go back to layout and I would select the rudder. And then I'd go back into texture paint and I would paint this side. Earlier, in one of my earlier videos, I talked about this rudder being offset. That can run into, cause you some problems. Because when you put your decal on this side, it's going to look like it's stretched out. If you put it on the other side, because of the angle of the tail, it's going to look like it is shrunken a little bit. So sometimes you have to deal with those issues, and it can be an issue. Another issue that you can run into, and I zoomed up really close here. You see this seam right here? And you see I've got some bleed over from the other side coming in here. So there's a couple of things that can cause that. But the primary one being that item is a single item, and the program is the software, when you're doing the painting, just bleeds it over on that side. The other possibility is that part is mirrored, and no matter what you do, if you try to get rid of one side, the other side's going away. Case in point, I made this decal a little bit larger on this side so that it overlaps this panel right here. This is a gap panel or plug panel that plugs up where in real life will be your access into the mechanisms inside for your rudder. For your elevator adjustment. So what's happened here is, if I flip this around to the other side, let's go to 9. Now, this decal is a little bit smaller, and you can see how it's bled from the other side over onto this side, right on that seam line right there. Okay? So that can be a problem. And you can run into it and scratch your head for hours and hours trying to figure out how to get rid of it. Maybe you just don't want to put a decal all across here, or you want to be selective on the kind of decals that you put on here, that you can blend in with the colors. This you can't do anything about, and I'm going to show you why. I'm going to stretch this over here, and I will enlarge this guy right here. And there's that panel I was talking about right there. Now, that panel is mirrored. In other words, there's only one of those panels in this whole texture file. There is not another one on here. That panel is mirrored, meaning it is used for both sides of this aircraft, and anything you put on it is going to be mirrored with it. Can't do anything about it. If I'm not mistaken, the X-Cub, the wings are mirrored, and you can't not put a different decal on the top of each wing. You can put the same, and it can be set up on a decal seat, similar to what some of the folks have done in the Bush League Legends liveries, where they've put stuff on the wings. But if you'll notice, it's the same design on both sides of the wing, and that's because the wings are mirrored. There is absolutely nothing you can do about it. Okay. Also, I want to look down here. You can see that was the decal that was placed. I could have placed it on the fuselage. The problem with placing it down here on this sheet is I wouldn't have known the right angle to have it in. So what I would have to have done is put this on the fuselage approximately where I wanted, go back into Flight Simulator, open it up in flight and see where it's at, and then come back into Photoshop or whatever I'm using for 2D, turn it a little bit, and then go back. You see, that another thing. You could get your decal positioned on the tail, but without knowing exactly where it needs to be up here, how are you going to position it up here correctly? You can do it. It takes hours and hours, and believe me, I know that from experience. Here's that piece, that edge strip where our bleed over is coming from the decal. Now that may be mirrored, and then again it may not. There's another area in this piece right here where it's coming over, and there's not a whole lot that you can do about that. The other piece is right up here. Now, could you imagine if you were trying to line all this stuff up in 2D? Good luck. Anyway, I wanted to show you that, let you know some of the problems that you can run into. I'm trying to grab my little thing here and bring it back over here. So that's what mirroring causes when you have problems like this. It looks good over here, and if you start out with that side, it'd be cool. But when you come over here, all of a sudden, boom, I have a problem. And already you can see the first one I painted on here was this side, and that's what put the bottom of the E's down here. So if you flip over onto this other side, you can see where those bottom of those E's are on this panel. So hopefully that'll show you some problems that you can run into. But this is one way of getting decals and stuff on your aircraft. I would strongly recommending downloading that video if you have a way to download it, or at least saving it somewhere, because you will refer to it a lot. I mean, I did in the beginning. So just to give you some ideas of what you run into. So hopefully that'll help, and hopefully we're cruising along here. I just used the fill tool to fill the fuselage and the rudder. I haven't done anything to the wing. If I was to go back to layout here and hit my Alt-H to bring everything back, maybe it's going to work. Yep, there we go. You see, I just have the fuselage done. Earlier, when we were setting up the videos and stuff, and I was having some issues with the frame up here around the window, this whole setup here on both sides, especially over here, is all grouped together, and you have to ungroup it, get rid of the window inside of it, and then you can go back in. You can paint this frame by itself. Same way with the door down here. Let me move this over. This handle mechanism is a piece. There's a swath in here that's a piece by itself. And if you notice, I click on this little guy pops up. There's a decal right there. This black, it turns out to be black when you actually get the model in flight. This guy right here turns out to be on that same sheet as these decals. And there's nothing you can do about it. In the toolkit download, I talked about there's a black spot right about here, and there's a black spot right about here. They're in the model. Somehow you can't, does not appear anyways at this time that you can do anything about that. So you have to be kind of creative when you're painting your liveries. Either that or just ignore it. There's a few other liveries out there, including the fancy ones that Flight Sim gives you, where that little black square and the piece down here on this strut support is still there. Same way with these. I assume there are handles up here for opening the upper panel. They're black, and it doesn't appear to be a place that you can do anything about it. I've actually deleted the complete decal file, everything out of it, so that I have a neutral texture, and they still show up. So there's an issue there somewhere. Okay, that's some of the problems that you run into, some of the techniques anyways. I hope this helps you. Maybe I'll do another video and we'll just try to paint a plain old livery without any decals on it and stuff, and then take it into Flight Simulator and see how that works. So I hope you can get something out of this video, and y'all have a wonderful day.